Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, the fighting in Syria intensifies. President Bashar al-Assad's government asks for reinforcements as its Russian allies bomb rebel forces after they overrun Aleppo. Hindus across India gather at ISKCON temples to pray for the safety of religious minorities in Bangladesh. 2 more individuals linked to ISKCON are detained in India's neighbouring nation. Cyclone Fengal weakens into a deep depression, but not before wreaking havoc in Puducherry and parts of Tamil Nadu, including state capital Chennai. India's total gross goods and services tax revenue grows by 8.5% to over 1.82 lakh crore INR in November as compared to 1.68 lakh crore INR in the same month a year ago. And India's Lakshya claims his first Syed Modi international title with a dominant 21-6, 21-7 win over Singapore's GST in the final. First up, Syria's civil war. Syria's civil war is back in the spotlight after a new rebel coalition swept into the country's second-largest city, Aleppo. In a surprise attack, this is the first time opposition forces have seized territory in Aleppo since 2016, shattering the stalemate of a war that never formally ended, forcing Russia to carry out airstrikes in the region after years. The renewed conflict, which has killed more than 300,000 people and sent nearly 6 million refugees out of Syria, has wide ramifications across the region and beyond.
A statue of Bashar al-Assad's brother Bassel torn down in Aleppo by armed men. The downing of the statue came after rebels opposed to the Syrian president reached Aleppo on Friday after a surprise sweep through government-held towns. Syrian authorities closed Aleppo airport as well as all roads leading into the city after beating a hasty retreat. Opposition fighters led by Islamist militant group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham roamed and drove through Aleppo streets freely on Saturday. The fighters and Aleppo's residents were also seen rejoicing their return to Syria's second-largest city after a decade of control by Assad's forces. Assad's posters were torn down as slogans were chanted in the streets.
Thanks God. After 8 years absence from our house and our family and our neighborhood, we went and saw and meet everyone, our neighbors and our family, and greeted them all. A joy that can't be described and is very great. Thanks to God.
The official Syrian news agency reported that President Assad vowed to defeat insurgents by force after the rebels swept into Aleppo. Assad vowed retribution, saying, "We will defend Syria's stability and territorial integrity in the face of all terrorists and their backers. The country is capable, with the help of its allies and friends, of defeating and eliminating them." And the retribution was swift as images came in on Sunday of the results of a series of airstrikes carried out by Syrian and Russian jets. Not only in Aleppo, but also in Idlib and Hama. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says these are the regions where the group leading the rebel offensive has established control. Sunday also saw the Syrian army claim it had recaptured several towns that had been overrun in recent days by rebels after conceding it had lost dozens of troops, forcing a redeployment out of Aleppo. The US was quick to denounce Assad's handling of his nation's civil war, America's National Security Council spokesperson saying Syria's reliance on Russia and Iran, along with its refusal to move forward with the 2015 peace process outlined by the UN Security Council, created the conditions now unfolding. At the same time, the United States has nothing to do with this offensive, which is led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a designated terrorist organization. Syria's turmoil set the cat among the pigeons amidst regional stakeholders. Assad's supporter, Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi, is reported to reach Damascus on Sunday before visiting Turkey as part of a regional tour on Monday. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan is said to have discussed regional developments in Syria with his Iraqi counterpart Fuad Hussein in a phone call on Sunday. And Jordan's Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi said on Sunday that developments in Syria were a cause of concern and that it rejects any action that threatened its northern neighbors' security and stability. It also called for increased diplomatic efforts to reach a political settlement that would end the conflict. For now, the fighting looks set to intensify. The Syrian government has called up reinforcements as its Russian allies bomb rebel forces who seemed to have taken advantage of the preoccupation of Assad's backers fighting against Ukraine and Israel. But this advantage could be short-lived. Gautam Roy's report for DD India.
And we'll return to the story with the comments of our expert guest a little later in the show. But for the moment, we're moving on. Calls grew louder for Israeli government to strike a deal to bring back hostages held by the Hamas. The mother of American-Israeli hostage, Eden Alexander, called on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to make a courageous decision for a deal. Her comments came after Hamas released a video of US-Israeli hostage Eden Alexander. Reacting to the video, the White House said that it's a cruel reminder of Hamas's terror against citizens of multiple countries. The US said that it will continue to work for the release of the hostages, but a deal is still not close at hand.
The mother of an Israeli hostage who appeared in a captive video released by Hamas armed wing on Friday has called on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to make a courageous decision and strike a deal to bring the hostages in Gaza home. She also said that she was shaken by the video released by Hamas.
Listen, I'm still shaking, like, I don't know if people can see me, but I'm shaking, I cannot believe I didn't saw Idan for 421 days, and suddenly to see him alive and speaking, and when he cried, I just want to hold him, you know. It was very, very, very tough to see. I'm hoping that he's still gonna stay brave and strong, and I want him to know that we are doing everything that we can to bring him home.
White House in a statement said that the United States will continue to work around the clock to secure the release of hostages. White House National Security Council spokesperson Syed said the hostage video released today of American-Israeli citizen Eden Alexander is a cruel reminder of Hamas' terror against citizens of multiple countries, including our own. We have been in touch with Eden's family. On behalf of the Alexanders and all the families of hostages still being held by Hamas, we will never cease in our effort to secure their immediate release. In another development, U.S. charity World Central Kitchen said on Saturday it was pausing operations in Gaza at this time after an Israeli air strike hit a vehicle carrying its workers. World Central Kitchen said World Central Kitchen had no knowledge that any individual in the vehicle had alleged ties to the October 7th Hamas attack. World Central Kitchen is pausing operations in Gaza at this time. The Israeli army previously confirmed that it had killed a WCK employee who it said was a terrorist who had taken part in militant October 2023 attack on southern Israel. While UN Relief and Workers Agency for Palestinian Refugees said that it halted the delivery of aid through the Kalem Shalom crossing between Israel and Gaza because of security concerns. Fuzail Ahmad's report for DD India.
Amid Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky's latest NATO membership proposal, Russia continues to capture new settlements in Donetsk. As Russian forces advance, they are approaching key sites like Kurakhov and Pokrovsk. Meanwhile, ongoing confrontations have led to casualties in both Ukraine and Russia with increased drone attacks. In response, Vladimir Putin has approved a military-focused budget with a 25% increase in defense spending. Rabindra Chauhan gets us more.
Amid Zelensky's latest proposal for NATO membership, Russia continues to capture new settlements. On Sunday, Russia said that it had seized 2 new settlements, Ilinka and Petrivka, in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, while NATO has yet to signal its intention to offer membership to Ukraine.
Our agenda also includes work on NATO. An invitation for Ukraine to join NATO is a necessary thing for our survival. We are working at all levels to strengthen the position of Ukraine and the entire Euro-Atlantic community. I am grateful to each and everyone who helps us.
As of now, Russian forces hold about 20% of Ukraine's territory and have advanced through Donetsk region in the last 2 months. They are approaching Kurakhov and the town of Pokrovsk to the north, site of the Sol colliery that supplies Ukraine's steel industry with coking coal. The conflict over territory continues to result in regular confrontations between both sides. On Sunday, at least 3 people were killed in a Russian drone attack on the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson, 7 wounded in morning assault, which targeted public transportation, while a child was killed in Russia's western Bryansk region following a large Ukrainian drone attack. Ukraine said it destroyed 32 out of 78 drones launched by Russia. In response, Russia said its air defense downed 29 Ukrainian drones overnight, including 20 in the Bryansk region.
At around 7 p.m., I heard the whistle of a massive flying past, and half a second later, there was an explosion. My windows were blown out, even though I had them covered. When I went outside, I saw a car and the driver was bleeding heavily.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has approved a military-focused budget for 2025-2027 with a 25% increase in military spending for next year. Russia said that funding for Russia's ongoing military operation in Ukraine will remain the budget's main priorities. Rabindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
And still to come on DD India NewsHour, US President-elect Donald Trump nominates Kash Patel for the FBI director's post, making him the highest-ranking Indian American in his incoming administration. Violent clashes outside Georgia's parliament over the government's decision to delay EU membership talks amid a post-election crisis. And Belgium becomes the first nation in the world to recognize sex workers' rights, giving them benefits similar to all workers.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
जिंदगी की हर छोटी बड़ी जरूरत के लिए आप जो सपने सजाते हैं, बस उसी उम्मीद को तो हम सहारा लगाते हैं। SIP आपकी सेविंग्स को आपकी खातिर काम पर लगाएगी। आज ही अपनी पहली SIP की शुरुआत करें। अधिक जानकारी के लिए अपने वित्तीय सलाहकार से परामर्श करें। LIC म्यूचुअल फंड द्वारा निवेशक शिक्षा की एक पहल।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार के जोखिम के अधीन है। योजना से संबंधित सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, it's been a week of tension and turmoil in India's neighbouring Bangladesh, where religious minorities, especially Hindus, are under a growing threat. Arrests, attacks and accusations have created an atmosphere of fear, drawing global attention and sparking outrage. Here's a full story by DD India's Mihir Makri.
It has been a tense week for Bangladesh. Persecution of minorities, particularly Hindus, shows no signs of abating. Those who dare to speak out are being silenced. The situation deteriorated further when Hindu priest Chinmoy Krishna Das Prabhu was arrested on November 25th on sedition charges. In a worrying development, 2 more individuals linked to ISKCON have also been detained.
अभी तक बांग्लादेश में 4 ब्रह्मचारियों को गिरफ्तार किया गया है। हमारे एक ISKCON सेंटर में भी एक कल तोड़फोड़ हुई, तो ये दूसरी घटना है। एक शिवचर में मंदिर को तो बंद करा दिया था।
Journalists too are facing the heat in Bangladesh. On Saturday, prominent journalist Munni Saha was arrested from Dhaka's Karwa Bazaar. She was manhandled by a mob. Following police detention, a case was filed against her. While later released under conditions, the incident has sparked widespread concern over freedom of press. Transport Minister of India's northeastern state of Tripura, Sushanta Chaudhary, alleged that a bus travelling from Agartala to Kolkata was attacked in Bangladesh. Chief Minister Manik Saha expressed deep concern over the incident.
बस जब जा रही थी तो एक ऑटो वहां पर आ गया, तो उसके थोड़ा सा उसमें एक्सीडेंट हो गया। तो उसको लेके मेरे ख्याल से जो मेरा पास इंफॉर्मेशन है, जो वहां पर बातचीत के बाद कोई मॉनिटरी उनको बेनिफिट देना था वो ऑटो वाले को, वो देने के बाद वहां पर कोई समस्या नहीं हुआ। उसके बाद वो ढाका में पहुंच गया, इतना खबर मेरा पास है।
Amid these incidents, Hindus across India gathered at ISKCON temples on Sunday to pray for the safety of religious minorities in Bangladesh. Vigils and chants echoed through temple premises, calling for peace and justice.
We are deeply concerned about the situation of our devotees and other minorities in Bangladesh, and we request the world governments to come up and to discuss the matter with the Bangladeshi government so that the things can be settled out peacefully. And we are requesting all over the world, all the people to chant the holy name of the Lord, to pray to the Lord so that the things are settled peacefully.
India too has expressed its deep concern over the escalating violence against minorities in Bangladesh. New Delhi has urged Bangladesh's interim administration to take concrete steps to protect its minorities. Mihir Makri reporting for DD India.
And US President-elect Donald Trump on Saturday added new names to his team, nominating New York real estate developer Charles Kushner as US ambassador to France. Kushner, who is the father of Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, was also a member in the first term of the Trump administration. In 2004, Kushner was sentenced for 2 years after pleading guilty of 18 counts including tax evasion and making illegal campaign donations. However, he was pardoned by Trump during his first term as president in 2020. Also, Donald Trump nominated Kash Patel as director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Announcing his nomination, Trump in a social media post said, "Kash is a brilliant lawyer, investigator and America First fighter." Further, Trump highlighted his role in exposing corruption, defending justice and protecting the American people. Kash Patel, once he becomes FBI director, cleared by the Senate, he will be the highest ranking Indian American in the Trump administration. Violent clashes erupted outside Georgia's parliament between the police and demonstrators protesting the government's decision to delay European Union membership talks amid a post-election crisis. Thousands of people gathered in Georgia's capital Tbilisi on Saturday for a third night of protests that saw dozens arrested. More than 100 people have been arrested so far in the last 2 days. And Georgian President Salome Zurabishvili said she will not step down until last month's contested parliamentary elections are rerun, claiming it's her constitutional duty to bring the country down the European integration path. The comments came as thousands of people gathered in Georgia's capital Tbilisi for a third night of protests against the government's decision to postpone European Union membership talks until 2028.
It's my duty. I've been elected for that, to serve this country. I'm elected also to preserve the Constitution, which clearly in its Article 78 says that we have to go down the European Euro integration path. And that's what has to be preserved. That is why the people are going out on the streets.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world as well. Romanians are casting ballots in a parliamentary election on Sunday, sandwiched between a two-round presidential race. Sunday's vote will elect a new government and prime minister and will determine the formation of the country's 466-seat legislature. While the president has significant decision-making powers in Romania, it's the prime minister that heads the government. Belgium has become the first of its kind in the world to recognize sex workers' rights, offering them the same benefits as other workers, including maternity leave, pensions, health insurance and sick leave. This landmark legislation, introduced after sex work was decriminalized in 2022, ensures sex workers have the same protections as other professions. The Christmas season officially began in Mexico with giant balloons flying over Mexico City's main thoroughfare for an annual parade. The Bolo Fest spectacle, which is named after its white teddy bear mascot, showcased local cultural talent and artistry. Saudi Arabia launched the first phase of the Riyadh Metro project for the public on Sunday. As part of the Saudi Vision 2030, the Riyadh Metro aims to enhance daily travel and quality of life by covering 176 kilometers with 6 lines and 85 stations. Parts of the U.S. Northeast faced near paralysis on Sunday as a fierce lake-effect winter storm continued to dump heavy snow on cities such as Buffalo and Watertown, New York. The weather system has also brought temperatures 10 to 15 degrees below average for this time of the year across much of the eastern U.S. seaboard. Now, the first edition of joint tabletop exercise Sindbags between the Indian Army and the Cambodian Army has begun at the Foreign Training Node in Pune. The exercise will continue till the 8th of this month. The Cambodian Army contingent comprises 20 personnel and the Indian Army contingent is also similarly comprising 20 personnel from an infantry brigade. Exercise Sindbags is a planned exercise aimed to war game conduct of joint counter-terrorism CT operations under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Charter. The exercise will focus on discussions pertaining to establishment of joint training task force for intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, besides planning of operations in CT environment. Ahead of India's Navy Day on the 4th of this month, the Indian Navy has released a video that celebrates the indomitable spirit of the Navy, a force that is combat ready, credible, cohesive and future ready, safeguarding India's maritime interests anytime, anywhere, anyhow.
We never retreat. In the skies, beneath the waves, and on the high seas, we move as one. Beyond the horizon, we stand guard. In every wave, we rise. Always ready, always prepared. Our mission, unwavering. Our goal to defend, to protect, to strike. The brave who confront the unknown to secure our future. The Indian Navy, the shield of our nation, the spear of our defense, the calm in the eye of the storm.
India also celebrates its Border Security Force Raising Day today. The force was officially formed on the 1st of December 1965 in the aftermath of that year's Indo-Pakistan War. The need for a specialized force to guard India's borders became evident due to consistent threat from across the borders, and the BSF was created to fulfill this significant role. The BSF is now the world's largest border guarding force, securing the 6,386 kilometers long international border with Pakistan as well as Bangladesh. Watch a report dedicated to India's vigilant and valiant force on this special day.
Bharat, the land of great men and women. For each generation, there is a call to serve this country. BSF Academy, a symbol of pride, valor and sacrifice. A legacy of producing some of the best soldiers who have served the country. A place where young boys and girls are molded into tough heroes. Where they discover their purpose and are made to realize that they are stronger than they think. They learn to dig deep and push through adversity, together to defend a country. But battles aren't won solely on the battlefield. Battles are won within. Over enemies of fear, over enemies of doubt. In a place where promises are kept. A promise to oneself. A promise to friends and family. A promise to 1.4 billion people. And a promise to a nation. In the heart of every soldier, you will find a promise. A promise kept forever. For that purpose, today we are celebrating BSF Raising Day. Defending our nation and its people. This is Border Security Force, duty unto death.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the 59th All India Conference of Director Generals and Inspector Generals of Police at Bhubaneswar on the 30th of November as well as the 1st of December, which is today, Sunday. In the valedictory session, Prime Minister gave away President's Police medals for distinguished service to officers of the Intelligence Bureau. In his concluding address, the Prime Minister noted that wide-ranging discussions had been held during the conference on national and international dimensions of security challenges and expressed satisfaction on the counter-strategies which had emerged from the discussions. During his address, the Prime Minister expressed concern on the potential threats generated on account of digital frauds, cyber crimes and artificial intelligence technology, particularly the potential of deep fake to disrupt social and familial relations. As a countermeasure, he called upon the police leadership to convert the challenge into an opportunity by harnessing India's double AI power of artificial intelligence and aspirational India. And India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar addressed the students of IIT Kanpur on Sunday, delivering an insightful talk on the transformative topic, Role of Innovation in the Development of India. The Vice President emphasized on the crucial role that innovation plays in the country's development. In his remarks, the VP urged corporate sector to increase investments in innovation.
Corporate commitment to innovation is strengthening. It needs to gallop. With BSE 100 companies increasing their R&D investment from now, it takes me a lot of courage to read it. From 0.89% to 1.32% of revenue in past 5 years. This needs a geometric jump. This needs a quantum jump.
And still to come on DD India NewsHour, we'll be speaking with our expert guest on the sudden escalation of fighting in the Syrian civil war and its possible impact on the wider West Asian region. World AIDS Day is marked on Sunday with this year's theme, Take the Right's Path, My Health, My Right. Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I am Gautam Roy and we're taking you back to our top story now, which is all about the renewed fighting that is taking place with a lot of vengeance in Syria because of how the rebels made a sudden move in Aleppo, which first initially made the Syrian forces beat a hasty retreat, but now they're coming back, especially from the air aided by Russian fighter jets. We've got Atul Aneja with us, well-known foreign affairs expert, to talk about it with us. Good evening to you, Atul. What do you make of the situation, how it's shaping up in Syria? One had almost taken one eye off it, and that seemed to have been a mistake for a lot of people, not just in the region, but who deal with geopolitics around the world on a daily basis.
Yeah, Gautam, actually not entirely surprising because of a certain vacuum created in terms of the so-called resistance front. Now, just a little bit of background here, that it's Iran, it was the Houthis, the section of Shias in Iraq and Syria, which sort of formed this, along with Hamas, which formed the so-called resistance front vis-a-vis Israel. Now, what's happened is that after the Israelis have stuck back against Hamas following the October 7th attacks, now you find that the Hamas has been badly hit by that. And then you have the Hezbollah coming to a ceasefire with Israel after suffering heavy losses. So there's a sort of weakening of the so-called resistance front, and Syria is a part of it. Now, in this particular context, there is this attack on Syria, by groups, including the Al-Qaeda faction, which is moved into Aleppo. So this is an opportunistic attack in the sense that they're finding that the resistance front has weakened. Syria is on the back foot because it's no longer getting the kind of backing it would otherwise have had from Hezbollah. So they see their opportunity here. In fact, it goes back to 2011 when there was an attempt to topple the government of Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria. So that had taken a reversal because of the situation. But given the current circumstances, the weakening of the Hezbollah, the so-called rebels have got another opportunity, along with their external backers, to try and topple Bashar again. And Aleppo is one of the most important cities. I think it is the largest city. It's not the second largest. I think it's the largest city, commercial capital, not far from the Turkish border. So if Aleppo falls, it will be a big blow to the government of Syria. And then the march goes further north. That seems to be the plan. But as you yourself pointed out, Gautam, that the reversal is coming, the heavy airstrikes against the groups which have sort of intruded into Syria. So we'll see. It might lead to a stalemate, and it's too early to say whether the particular onslaught will succeed or not.
Right. Just tell us, about a little bit more about these fighters that are being led by something called the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which you mentioned used to be an Al-Qaeda affiliate. And why was nothing done to prevent this sort of coming together of these opposition fighters in a fresh coalition?
To be honest, Gautam, this is real geopolitics. Whereas Al Qaeda was the target by the American forces, we found that in Afghanistan from 2001 onwards. But when it came to regime changes in the Middle East and West Asia, there was, and I was covering that when I was in my earlier posting in that region, that Adana, which is in Turkey, became a center where there was a convergence of many foreign intelligence services, including supporting the Al Qaeda factions there, because the target there was Bashar al-Assad's government just after March 2011, if my memory goes right. So it's in some areas you are a target, in some areas you are an ally. You'll never admit it openly. But that's the way the murky world of real politics works. And so I'm not surprised in this particular case that the Al Qaeda may be used as the foot soldiers to achieve a bigger geopolitical objective, which is of regime change in Syria. Because if that happens, then with Hezbollah weakened, there's a sort of weakening of Syria or actually removal of Syria from the equation. Then you have, the dominance of Israel in the entire region, and frankly, also it would mean a big blow to Iran, which is the backer of the Syrian government, which is the backer of Hezbollah. So, in terms of the bigger picture, weakening of Iran, and actually decimation in a way of the so-called resistance front. Israel comes out as a dominant player if this succeeds. So it's a complete change in the geopolitical complexion of the region.
And does it change things for Russia as well? Because right now it's looking to push back the Ukrainians, and they seem to be under the impression that they might be winning that war, and now suddenly they have to put in some effort here as well to back Assad.
Absolutely. So the Russians are now fighting on two fronts in a way. You're looking at the Ukrainian front, and you always had a base, by the way. Tartus was a naval base which is being run by the Russians, and there is also an air base which
one of them has been taken over by the rebels.
Sorry?
One of them has been taken over by the rebels?
No, I'm not sure where Harmain base would be taken over, because you will not have
the one near Aleppo, I believe, has been taken over by the rebels.
It could be, but the bigger one is Harmain, and the other one is Tartus, which is the naval base. These are the pivots for force projection by Russia. And now, if the Russians are fighting on two fronts, but at the same time, the Russians will do everything in their power, and that is reflected in the kind of airstrikes which are taking place, to protect Bashar al-Assad, because if Bashar falls, then Iran gets exposed, and then your Eurasian line gets exposed to regime change. So this will be the first line of defense for the Russians, to protect Bashar al-Assad, and that's the reason why you find the use of air power by the Russians, and you also find that the Iranian foreign ministry is visiting Damascus. So it's going to be Iran and Russia doing their best and, going full steam ahead to make sure that this particular onslaught against the government of Bashar Assad fails. Let's see where it goes. But I think it's vital from a Russian perspective and from an Iranian perspective to make sure that the government in Damascus remains in place and not succumbs to the forces which are attacking it.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, do you think the rebels too have very strong backing from overseas, from different quarters? They are quite a mishmash, but they've in the past have had very strong backers, including the US, which this time around is saying it has no hand in it.
You see, I'm sure they'll deny it. But if you look at it, in any situation, who can gain out of this situation and who can lose? So it's a bit of a speculation. But I will not be surprised that, as the dust settles over here, that there is American, and in fact, Israel benefits hugely if Bashar al-Assad is somewhere, the government is no longer in place. So, in the past, after 2011, the Turks were definitely involved in it, as were organizations like the Jabhatul Nusra, which was again had a lot of Al Qaeda elements and had the support. I would go within that framework and dig deeper here as we go along as to the exact magnitude of the external interventions and the players who are involved in this. I will not be surprised if these countries are involved in this process.
And do you think Assad is in some real danger of losing his position? Something that, I mean, the Assads have been around for now more than 50 years. And if that happens, what would replace his regime is again an open question, and one which is an answer perhaps more worrisome than the existing regime.
Absolutely. So, but to be honest, Syria is still a large country, and it's too early to say that the government of Bashar al-Assad is in any real danger right now. I think the reinforcements will come, but to be very honest, this is US versus Russia. You're going to have the Iranians, Israelis, and I think, frankly, even the Chinese may not be far behind, because in the past, when I was covering it in 2011 plus, after the regime change in Libya, the Chinese, at least diplomatically, were very active in saving Bashar al-Assad. So you have these powerful players now support Bashar al-Assad. So it's a lot of spectacle, the kind of speed at which things are moved. But you need a much bigger firepower. You need boots on the ground to hold territory. It's one thing to make intrusions into one major city and further, but to control that area, you need much more firepower. You need much more personnel. And I doubt whether this particular groups which are moving in strong enough to make an impact, but not strong enough to hold territory and to really endanger Bashar al-Assad right now.
And what kind of stake does India have in all this? It has always advocated a peaceful solution to most problems, be it Ukraine or the one that we see in Gaza and with the Hezbollah as well. A similar position here as well in the past.
Gautam, we need stability in this region. It's very, very important there is no spillover. We depend on our people are involved there in the region in terms of guest workers over there. Our energy supplies come from there. If you recall, not very long back, we were also pushing for the IMEC corridor, which goes through the region, through Haifa and then further into Saudi. So we need stability in this part of the world. And this is a regional problem. What's happening now is not just isolated to Syria, but to the entire region. And so we have stakes there for stability. And I think we have already said that, we would... it's in India's interest to be involved in settling and to play a conducive, helpful role to diffuse tensions out here. Because in the end, a rising economy like India needs stability for its own self-interest in the region.
Yes, certainly. Well, it's difficult to say which way things will go at the moment. But thanks for joining us and talking about it, Atul Aneja.
You're welcome, Gautam.
And still to come on DD India NewsHour. World Chess Championship between India's D. Gukesh and China's Ding Liren stands tied at 3 points each after Game 6 also ends in a draw. And the 10-day celebration of the rich cultural heritage of Nagaland, the 25th Hornbill Festival, gets underway. Also, Konark Dance Festival celebrates Indian classical dance tradition in all its glory.
Jaipur.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, there's some good news as far as the GST collection is concerned. India's GST collection for November has risen by 8.5% to 1.82 lakh crore INR. According to the data released, refund issued during November totaled 19,259 crore INR. After accounting for refunds, net GST collection rose 11% to 1.63 lakh crore INR. The central GST collection stood at 34,141 crore INR. State GST at 43,047 crore INR and integrated GST at 91,828 crore INR as well as cess at 13,253 crore INR. Now, Cyclone Fengal, which made landfall near Puducherry on Saturday, has weakened into a deep depression, but it continues to cause significant disruption across the Union Territory and neighbouring Tamil Nadu, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The Indian Met Department reports that while the cyclone has weakened, its impact remains severe. Torrential downpours have completely paralysed Puducherry, with inundated streets forcing the Indian Army to step in and evacuate stranded residents. In response to the crisis, Puducherry's Education Minister A. Namachivayam has announced a holiday for all schools and colleges on Monday. And neighbouring Villupuram district in Tamil Nadu has also been critically affected. The Indian Army has been actively engaged in rescue operations, evacuating residents from flood-affected areas. State authorities are also working diligently to assess the damage and provide necessary relief to affected people. World AIDS Day is observed on the 1st of December each year. This year's theme, Take the Rights Path, My Health, My Right, highlights the importance of healthcare as a basic right. But how does HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, actually enter the body, and what happens when it does? What challenges do those living with HIV face, and can they ever truly overcome this disease? We unravel all the answers, how lives can be saved, improved and protected.
The silent attacker, known as HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, spreads in ways many don't fully understand. Most commonly, it passes through unsafe sexual contact, but it can also be transmitted via infected blood, shared needles, or from mother to a child during childbirth or breastfeeding. Yet, despite widespread myths, HIV does not spread through casual contact like touching, hugging, or sharing meals. When HIV enters the body, its mission is stealthy but devastating. The virus targets the body's immune system, specifically the CD4 cells, also known as the helper T cells. These are the body's frontline defense against infections. Once inside, the virus inserts its genetic material into the CD4 cell's nucleus, effectively hijacking the cell to replicate itself. Over time, this viral army grows silently, often without causing immediate symptoms. Years can pass before the real damage begins. Gradually, HIV destroys the immune system, leaving the body vulnerable to opportunistic infections and diseases. This is the critical stage when HIV progresses to AIDS, or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Without treatment, AIDS severely diminishes the body's ability to fight even minor illnesses, often leading to fatal outcomes. But this is not a hopeless fight. Antiretroviral therapy, ART. These life-saving medications suppress the virus, preventing it from replicating further and allowing the immune system to rebuild. ART, when taken consistently and correctly, can prevent the progression from HIV to AIDS. ART is not just a treatment, it is a lifeline. Across the country, ART centers provide free medication, ensuring that cost is never a barrier to survival. However, the battle against HIV isn't just about the treatment. It's also about awareness and prevention. Early detection is critical. Regular testing, safe sexual practices, and caution with blood exposure are key to preventing HIV infection. The message is clear. HIV infection is not the end of life. With timely medication intervention and consistent treatment, people can live long and fulfilling lives. But it all begins with awareness, compassion, and taking the right steps towards prevention and care. This World AIDS Day, let's pledge to fight stigma, spread awareness, and ensure that everyone's right to health is protected. Because together, we can turn the tide against AIDS. Preeti Kaur for DD India.
On this occasion, India's Minister for Health and Family Welfare, JP Nadda, called for developing sensitivity and standing for the human rights for people suffering from HIV/AIDS.
AIDS के साथ जो लोग जी रहे हैं, people living with HIV, उनकी स्थिति को समझें, जाने, सेंसिटिविटी डेवलप करें और उसके साथ साथ उनके ह्यूमन राइट्स की रक्षा करें. ये आज के दिन हम सब लोगों को संदेश देना चाहिए और साल भर फॉर द होल लॉन्ग ईयर वी शुड डेडिकेट अवरसेल्व्स एंड रीइटरेट दैट वी आर देयर फॉर द ह्यूमन राइट्स ऑफ पीपल लिविंग विद HIV.
And time now to get you some sporting updates as well. First, badminton, where Indian shuttler Lakshya thrashed Singapore's Jiaheng Jensen in the final to clinch the men's singles title in Syed Modi International Super 300 badminton tournament. The Paris Olympic semi-finalist outclassed his opponent with a commanding score of 21-6, 21-7, capping off the final day of the event, where Indian shuttlers secured 3 titles. Top-seeded PV Sindhu won women's singles title of the Syed Modi International Super 300 badminton tournament as well. She defeated Wu Luoyu of China 21-14, 21-16 in 47 minutes. Sindhu dominated both the games and comfortably secured a straight game win to clinch the title, which also effectively ended her title drought. Earlier, Teresa Jolly and Gayatri Gopichand bagged the women's doubles titles. The women's doubles duo produced a superb performance to beat China's Bao Li Jing and Li Shan 21-18, 21-11 in 41 minutes. Teresa and Gayatri, ranked 16th in the world, are the only Indians set to compete in the prestigious event in China next month. Jai Shah on Sunday officially took charge as the chairperson of the International Cricket Council, becoming the first Indian to head the global body. The 36-year-old, who was the Board of Control for Cricket in India as the BCCI secretary for the last 5 years, was the unanimous choice of ICC Board of Directors. He replaced New Zealand's Greg Barclay as ICC chair. Shah brings extensive experience in cricket administration, having started his journey in 2009 with the Gujarat Cricket Association. During his tenure, he oversaw the development of the world's largest cricket stadium in Ahmedabad. In 2019, Shah joined the Board of Control for Cricket in India, that's the BCCI, becoming its youngest ever honorary secretary. Indian chess grandmaster D. Gukesh and Chinese champion Ding Liren played out yet another draw in the 6th game of the World Chess Championship 2024 final on Sunday. Gukesh finally accepted a draw after rejecting Ding's offer earlier in the game, with the two players shaking hands after 46 moves. Liren took lead after winning the opening game before the pair settled for a draw in the second game. The third fixture was won by Gukesh. However, games 4, 5 and 6 have all ended in a draw. At the end of 6 games, the players stand tied on the scoreboard with nothing to separate them at 3 points each. Rohit Sharma-led India defeated Australia Prime Minister's 11 in the 2-day pink ball warm-up match at the Manuka Oval in Canberra. After rain played spoilsport on day 1, the game was reduced to a 46 overs a-side contest on the second day. India bundled out Australia Prime Minister's 11 for 240 runs after opting to bowl. Pacer Harshit Rana led the bowling attack and finished with impressive figures of 4 for 44. Skipper Rohit Sharma was dismissed early for 3 of 11 balls. However, Shubman Gill's 50 and Yashasvi Jaiswal's 45 helped India secure a 6-wicket win. The second test of the Border Gavaskar Trophy is set to start from the 6th of this month in Adelaide. The beating of the gong by Nagaland Governor La Ganesan and the state's Chief Minister Nifu Rio officially inaugurated the 10-day-long 25th Hornbill Festival in the Indian northeastern state of Nagaland on Sunday. This year, 4 partner nations, Wales, the US, Japan and Peru, and 2 partner Indian states, Sikkim and Telangana, are backing Nagaland's signature ethno-cultural festival. Padma Bhushan, Grammy and Oscar-winning composer A.R. Rahman was also present at the inaugural ceremony. We now bring you glimpses of the glory of India's classical traditions epitomized through dance. We take you to the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Konark Sun Temple, which annually is the place for the Konark Dance Festival. Take a look and enjoy. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, entering the field of OTT platforms. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. And that's all for this edition of DD India NewsHour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India NewsHour.